Jane Austen's Sense and Sensibility is so much more than just a classic romance. It's this brilliant look at one of life's biggest questions. When it comes to love, should you follow your head or your heart? We're about to see how two sisters put both of those ideas to the ultimate test. So, think about it for a second. Which one are you? Are you guided by cool, careful logic, or by those big, passionate impulses? This is the exact question that drives our two heroines, Elinor and Marianne Dashwood. As we dig into their story, you have to ask yourself, which path is the safer bet for survival, and which one really leads to happiness?
All right, so let's set the scene. The story kicks off at Norland Park, where the Dashwood family is living a pretty comfortable life. But this perfect world is just completely shattered when Mr. Dashwood dies. In a single moment, the entire fate of his wife and their 3 daughters is left in the hands of his son from a previous marriage, John Dashwood.
On his deathbed, the old Mr. Dashwood makes his son John promise him one thing, to look after the women. And John, in that moment, he fully intends to keep that promise. And you have to understand, in an era where women couldn't inherit property and had almost no way to make their own money, this single promise was their only lifeline. Literally.
But, well, a promise is only as strong as the person who keeps it. And this chart just perfectly shows the toxic power of persuasion. John's greedy wife, Fanny, immediately gets to work on him. His first generous thought to give them £3,000, she just chips away at it. She argues it down to 500 and then, and this is just astonishingly selfish, all the way down to absolutely nothing.
And this is the completely twisted logic that seals their fate. Fanny basically argues that because John's father cared for the girls so much, well, that means John doesn't need to do anything at all. It's a masterpiece of cold, calculating self-interest. And it works. The Dashwood women are left with almost nothing and are forced to leave their home. For them, the stakes just could not be higher.
So this whole financial disaster sets the stage for the novel's central experiment. We get to watch these two sisters, and each one represents a totally different way of thinking. Elinor, the older sister, is all sense. She's rational, she has self-control, she always does what's proper. But Marianne, her younger sister, is pure sensibility. She is driven by intense emotion, passion, and this deep belief in living life to the fullest. And consequences be damned.
So let's start with Marianne, our champion of sensibility. After being uprooted to this tiny little cottage, she isn't just looking for love, she is determined to find a romance that is as passionate and untamed as she is.
And of course, her love story begins exactly like something out of a romantic novel. She's out for a walk, slips in the rain, twists her ankle, and is swept off her feet. I mean, literally, by a handsome stranger on horseback, the dashing John Willoughby. For Marianne, this isn't just a happy accident. This is fate.
Their connection is just immediate and so intense. It's not just that they have the same hobbies. It feels like they share a soul. They read the same romantic poets, they sing duets, and they completely reject the idea that love needs time to grow. For them, it's all about that instant spiritual connection. Their courtship is very public, very passionate, and even gives her a horse. It all seems to confirm it. They are a perfect match.
Okay, so in complete contrast to all that drama, we have Elinor, the embodiment of sense. Her approach to love couldn't be more different. It's quiet, it's cautious, and she keeps her feelings carefully under lock and key.
This comparison right here just says it all. While Marianne fell for the bold and dashing Willoughby, a guy who's basically a mirror of her own passionate self, Elinor is drawn to Edward Ferrars. He's quiet, a little shy, and honorable, but he's hardly what you'd call charismatic. The men they choose are perfect reflections of their own core values.
Elinor's relationship with Edward is built on these quiet conversations and a deep mutual respect. But something's not quite right. Edward always seems to be hiding some kind of sadness, and Elinor notices a ring on his finger with a lock of hair in it, and it's definitely not hers. Her sense of propriety, her sense, just won't let her ask about it, which leaves her to battle all her growing suspicions in total silence.
And it's right here that both of these worlds, the one built on wild passion and the one built on cautious reason, are about to get completely shattered.
The hits just come so fast and so hard. First, Willoughby just abruptly leaves for London, which absolutely devastates Marianne. Then, before she can even process that, Elinor gets a secret confession from a woman named Lucy Steele.
Turns out she's been engaged to Edward Ferrars for 4 years. And then comes the final, crushing blow. News that Willoughby is now engaged to an extremely wealthy heiress. In just a few weeks, both sisters are betrayed.
So how does Marianne react? Well, it's pure sensibility. She completely and totally collapses. She refuses to eat or sleep. She just indulges her grief so openly that she becomes completely unaware of everyone around her. Her pain is a public spectacle, and it's all-consuming.
Elinor, on the other hand, is carrying this incredible double burden. She is just as heartbroken over Edward, but she feels she has to be the strong one for her whole family. So she locks her own suffering away, keeping up this calm, even cheerful front. She does her duty while her own heart is breaking in absolute secret.
So after these devastating betrayals, both sisters are forced to face the limits of their own philosophies. And to find happiness again, they're each going to have to learn something from the other. For Marianne, the lesson is absolutely brutal. Her nonstop grief weakens her, and after she recklessly walks out in a storm, she gets dangerously ill. As she's lying there near death, she has to face a really harsh reality. Her philosophy of pure, unchecked emotion isn't just impractical, it's literally self-destructive.
And this near tragedy is what leads to the novel's really beautiful resolution. Marianne survives, and through that, she learns to value things like prudence and constancy. She eventually marries the incredibly steadfast Colonel Brandon, choosing the quiet strength of sense. At the same time, Edward's secret engagement unexpectedly breaks. He's finally free to propose to Elinor, who, at long last, can let her own deeply felt sensibility come to the surface. Each sister finds happiness, but only by bringing in a piece of the other's philosophy.
Which leaves us with the final question, right? Is Marianne's quiet, respectful happiness with a good man a kind of compromise? Is Elinor's hard-won love that she got only after years of silent suffering really the ideal? You know, Austen is way too clever to just give us an easy answer. She suggests that maybe the best path isn't one or the other, but a thoughtful, careful blend of both sense and sensibility.